Morning to all. 2 Timothy 4, 1 to 5 is the reading for today. In the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who is to judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearance and his kingdom, I solemnly urge you, proclaim the message. Be persistent, whether the time is favorable or unfavorable. Convince, rebuke, and encourage with the utmost patience in teaching. For the time is coming when people will not put up with sound doctrine, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own desires, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander away to myths. As for you, always be sober, endure suffering, do the work of an evangelist, carry out your ministry fully. At one point or another, we've all come to a crossroads, a fork in the road, probably many times for many of us. And oftentimes we realize that this decision that we're about to make is going to affect our life. It's going to affect the future of our life. It could reflect in even generations following us. Nathan? Now, if you come to a crossroads or a fork in the road on a day that is pleasant and sunny like this, it may not matter too much. And you might say, oh, this way looks better or that other way looks better. And Robert Frost reflected on this in a poem. How he's walking through the woods and it diverges. But we want to look at something much more serious than this. Take away the sun, take away the warmth, take away the pleasantness. Because generally, when we come to a fork in the road, it's a time when it is dark, it is cold, it is dreary, and we're confused. However, as Christians, we do have a guidebook. We do have a pattern. We do have a plan. So we have an advantage over other people who do not have the Bible, who do not have God, who do not have a faith. And this morning, I want to take a look at what happens when we do come to a fork in the road. We're going to take a look at one incident from the Old Testament in which there are several forks for several different people. And we'll see how they've decided, and we'll see if we can apply this to our own life. Because right now there is somebody here who may be facing a fork in the road. You wonder, which way do I go? So let's flip over to 2 Chronicles 10. And this is an incident which is familiar to many of us, but we generally look at it from 1 Kings. And 2 Chronicles is a little bit different from Kings, just as the Gospel of John is different from the three synoptic Gospels. We've got Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they tell basically the same story. But John wrote a little bit later, decades, and he saw that the church was going into a different direction. There was danger for the church. So he wanted to make things a little bit more clear. And the chronicler here in 2 Chronicles 10 looks back, and he has a different fork in the road that he wants to look at. So we're going to take a look at his commentary on this, which is in 2 Chronicles 10:19. Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to this day. So the fork in the road that he's looking at is the one that came to Israel, and they have been in rebellion. So let's take a look at this. And rebellion, we know from Samuel, is as sorcery, witchcraft, divination. It is a sin. And a lot of people are proud to be rebels. Oh, I'm a rebel. That's nothing to be proud of. Arrogance, he goes on to say, is as the sin of idolatry. So Israel has always been rebellious. We've seen when we're looking at the character of God in Wednesday night, that Israel, right from the beginning with Moses, was rebellious against God, and God wanted to wipe them out. And we've seen in the wilderness how they've constantly rebelled. And in the time of Samuel, God has set up the system where the judges are going to rule. God is going to speak through them, the prophets, the judges, and the people of Israel rebelled against that. And so God set up the kingdom. And Samuel was very upset. And God said to Samuel, they haven't rejected you, Samuel. They've rejected me. They are a rebellious people. Well, now Israel is going to rebel, reject this monarchy that God has set up. So Solomon, he also had his fork in the road. He wanted to be a great king. But just as the people of Israel wanted to be like other nations and having a king, he wanted to be like other kings. And to be like other kings, he had to conclude these alliances and these treaties. And so he would marry foreign women. That was part of the thing. And he started worshiping their God. So he was also rejected. So we see in Second Chronicles that Solomon has died, and he slept with his ancestors and was buried in the city of his father David, that being Jerusalem. And his son Rehoboam succeeded him. And there's something interesting here that doesn't really come out in the king's account. Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had come to Shechem to make him king. Now, the first question here would be, why don't they go to Jerusalem? Solomon was this greatest king. He consolidated the power. He made Israel a great nation. He built the temple there. He built his palaces there. Why Shechem? And you notice that it is Rehoboam who goes to Shechem. He does not demand that the people come to him. So this is actually a good start. This is a great start, auspicious for him. Now, Shechem is important because it was here that Abraham first made his covenant with God. It was here that Jacob made a covenant with God. It was at Shechem that Joshua renewed the covenant of Israel with God. So Rehoboam is going to do things right. But in verse 2, when Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard of it, for he was in Egypt, he returned from Egypt. They sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all Israel came and said to Rehoboam, your father made our yoke heavy. Now therefore lighten the hard service of your father and his heavy yoke that he placed on us, and we will serve you. And Rehoboam replied, come to me again in 3 days. So what is going on here? Well, these people are not coming to Shechem to welcome Rehoboam as the king, to acclaim Rehoboam as the king. They are there putting up resistance. They are rebelling right away. Now, it's interesting that they're complaining about Solomon. Solomon did everything that Samuel warned the people of Israel was going to happen. You want a king? You want a king instead of God? Look at what he's going to do. He's going to take your horses for his chariots. He's going to take your daughters and make them servants. He's going to take your sons and make them soldiers. He's going to tax you and get money for his own glory. And that's what Solomon had done. And these people had to live with consequences. They came to the crossroad. They refused to listen to the wise advice of Samuel, and now they're paying for it. And so they say this to Rehoboam. We will do this. We have demands. Now, that is not how you treat a king. When you meet a king, you treat him with honor, you treat him with respect. But Rehoboam, in some ways, just as Solomon, they are descendants of David. They are foreshadowing Jesus. Because what happens when Jesus comes as king? People make demands on Jesus. Oh, give us more food. You fed us once. Give us more food. Here, heal my sick. Can you do something about these Romans? But probably the worst case would be Luke 12, where Jesus is teaching, and a man shouts out, teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Really? Jesus is teaching a lesson? And all you are interested in is not the rest of the people here, not the lesson, not the words of God, but your inheritance? And Jesus didn't help him out. He said, am I a judge? I'm here to teach. So he had to correct him. But this is what we do even today. People do it all the time. Instead of welcoming the king, we say, here are our demands. Instead of accepting what God says to us, God, if you'll answer my prayer, God, if you'll help me in my expectations, then I will serve you. And that's wrong. That is not what we are to do. We are not to dictate to God. We are not to dictate to the king what is to be done. But Rehoboam proves that he is the son of Solomon, the wisest king. He says, "Come to me again in 3 days." What is he going to do? Deliberate. Deliberation is one of those lost arts today. People don't tend to deliberate. When you come to the crossroads, you should contemplate. You don't just randomly go on this path or on that path. Think about it. Are there signposts? No. But what has happened in the past? And we know that many examples in the Bible are left specifically for us. If we look at the other conditions in the Bible and compare them and deliberate, we can come up with a good decision, a godly decision. And what does he do? He takes counsel with the older men, but not just any older men. Verse 5, verse 6. Rehoboam took counsel with the older men who had attended his father Solomon while he was still alive. Solomon gathered about him the most able administration probably the world has ever seen. Solomon was the wisest king. He's only going to have wise men to be with him, to take counsel from them. He's not going to suffer fools gladly at all. So these wise men who've learned their wisdom from Solomon are there. Rehoboam has the perfect place to go. Just as the Bible is a perfect place for us to go when we come to these crossroads and need to make a decision. They answered him, "If you will be kind to this people and please them and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever." So this is the crossroad. This is the fork that Rehoboam has. And he's given godly wisdom, good wisdom by these men. But, verse 8, he rejected the advice that the older man gave him. Just as in our reading this morning, there's people with itching ears. If they hear something they don't want to agree with, they're going to reject it. And we have so many people today, they don't want to listen to opposing opinions. They want to shut it down. They want to shout it down. They want to listen to somebody else who's going to agree with them. And Rehoboam goes to the young men who had attended with him, who had grown up with him. And what do they know? They're just having a good time. They're not paying attention maybe to the wisdom that's going on. And they said, "Thus should you speak to the people who said to you, your father made our yoke heavy. Tell them, my little finger is thicker than my father's loins. Now, whereas my father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions." So he doesn't like the advice of the older men. He asks the younger men, and they give him exactly what he wants to hear. They give him the opposite advice. He's a young fool checking with other fools. The echo chamber. They tell him, "You want to show your power? You flex your muscle. You exert your strength. You show them who's boss. You tell them who's who." And this is worldly wisdom at its rawest form. If you have the power, use it. You oppose anybody who's opposed to you. You do what is best for you. You show these people. So we've got worldly advice and we've got spiritual advice. The worldly is sinful. It's going to lead you to disaster, and you cannot go back. Once you've made that wrong decision, once you've started down that wrong path, you cannot avoid the consequences. You cannot escape the consequences. But do you see the heart of God in verse 7? "If you will be kind to this people and please them and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever." And this is how God comes to us. This is how Christ came to us, bringing us good words, kind deeds, advice that is going to get us through any difficulty. And that's why we are here, to preach the good news of Christ. And the idea, he does good to us, we will do good to him, we will serve him. And that's the obvious right response. We should be God's servants forever. Rehoboam is at the fork in the road. Is he going to listen to the godly advice, the wisdom of the old men, or is he going to listen to the sinful advice? Well, sadly, he's going to do what he thinks is right for himself. And when they get together, verse 13, the king answered them harshly. King Rehoboam rejected the advice of the older men. He spoke to them in accordance with the advice of the young men. My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to it. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions. That is how he replied to them. That is what he answered to them. Contrast Rehoboam's decision with that of Jesus. Jesus came and he was treated poorly. He was treated abysmally. He was rejected by the people who should have crowned him as king. But he did not respond as Rehoboam did. He responded with love. And as followers of Christ, we are to do the same thing. Romans 12, 17 and 18. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Rehoboam came to the fork in the road and he took the wrong fork. And you are going to be at a fork in the road when somebody is opposing you, when somebody is doing whatever to you, and you have to decide how to respond. Are you going to respond like Solomon's great-great-grandson, Jesus? Or are you going to respond like his son, Rehoboam? Now we come to the rejection. When all Israel saw that the king would not listen to them, the people answered to the king, what share do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Each of you to your tents, O Israel. Look now to your own house, O David. Now, initially, in our society, people would probably say, oh, this is great. Power to the people. But this is not a democracy. This is not a republic. This is a monarchy. They are rejecting God's divine order. They are rejecting what they asked of God. They said to God, we want a king. Give us a king. We want to be like the other nations. And God gave them a king. God set up a kingdom. God took David and he developed a covenant with David. And what do they say? What share do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. So here the crossroads now is Israel. They have a choice. Are you going to follow Rehoboam, who is the king as appointed by God? We might not like what he says. Are we going to follow him or are we going to reject him? And they say right here, we will reject you. We have nothing to do with the son of Jesse. So they have completely rejected the plan that God has set up for them. They have rejected the promises. They've rejected the idea of the Messiah who's going to come. And ultimately, they will do this again when Jesus comes. They reject Jesus as the rightful king. And the foreshadowing here is very clear. Israel continues to reject. Once a rebel, always a rebel. So what is the fork for us? This is the message today. Israel rejected God's plan. They rejected Rehoboam because he would make things easy for them. They didn't get their own way. They made demands, and the demands were not met. They wanted their lives to be easier. They wanted a lighter load rather than do what they must do. And so the chronicler wants to focus on the rebellion of Israel here. And we know that a life as a Christian is going to be hard. There are times when we are going to face storms. There are times when we are going to be rowing against the waves. There are times when we are going to be hurting because of our faith. There are times when we are going to be in pain. And there's going to be times when we are confused. Which way do I go? Which is the easier way? Which is the right way? There's going to be times when you're tempted to give up on God because he doesn't seem to be answering our prayers. He's not making life easier for us. Life has become burdensome for us, and maybe it's because of God. But Jesus said that life was going to be hard. Matthew 16:24, he said, take up your cross and follow me. For us, yeah, okay, take up your cross. That doesn't mean too much. But when people are seeing Romans crucifying other people, it had a whole deeper meaning. Jesus never pretended that our lives as Christians would be easy. We see people saying, oh, I want to follow you, Jesus. And what does he say? Oh, come, I'm so glad to welcome you into my... Not at all. Foxes have holes. Birds have nests. I don't even have a place to lay my head. He tells them he's going to be rejected and killed. He tells them that you, my disciples, are not going to be better than the master. If they treat me this way, what are they going to do to you? Somebody else comes to him, oh, Jesus, what's the greatest thing? Sell everything you have. So Jesus doesn't pretend that life is going to be easy. They'll kill me. They're going to kill you. But we build on sand if we cast away the inheritance we can get from God because we want life to be easier for us. And that's what these people in Israel wanted. We want an easy life. Make it easier for us and we'll make you the king. And do we not say that to God sometimes? You answer our prayers, God, and I'll follow you. Do what I want. Let life go as I expect, and I will serve you. Don't be like these Israelites. They threw away their inheritance. So the fork for us comes when life gets tough, when life gets hard. Are you going to reject God, or are you going to continue to follow him? Because he is the rightful king. And he doesn't promise us an easy way, but he does promise us that when this life is over, we will be with him if we continue to follow and serve him.